Hi, my dear friends. Welcome back to another class of SQL. In this class, I shall be discussing about the concept of procedure. What is a procedure in SQL environment? What are the benefits of procedure, and how can you create procedure? How can you execute procedure? All these things. Okay. Now, before moving into the procedure concept, just a little bit of throwback to the concept of function. If you remember, in our functions class, I had discussed that a function is a block of codes where you will have some block of codes or lines of codes, and those lines of codes or the block of codes can be reused again and again to do some particular tasks. So instead of typing or writing those lines again and again, we write the function only once, which will have some block of codes or lines of codes, and no need to rewrite those lines again and again. Lines written only once, there is the block of codes written only once, and then whenever we require those block of codes, then we can simply call the function, and those block of codes will be automatically used to perform some tasks, and we can do it many times, so no need to rewrite every time those block of codes can be written only once under a function, and then that function can be called multiple times to do several tasks where the block of codes which were written only once will be executed to perform various tasks. Okay, now procedure is also something which is very similar to a function. Okay, a procedure is also, you can say, block of codes or lines of codes, and that gets written only once, and then the procedure, just like function, can be called multiple times, and then those block of codes inside the procedure, they will get executed, or those lines of codes inside the procedure, they will get executed, and various tasks will be accordingly performed via the procedure. When inside the procedure, those block of codes or lines of codes are executed by calling the procedure, similar to function. But yes, there are many differences between a procedure and a function. Okay, so like for example, when we create a procedure and we call it for the first time, because if you know, as I told you, just like function, when we create a function and then we call it, similarly in case of procedure also, we have to create the procedure at first, and then we have to call the procedure just like your function. Okay, now when a procedure is called, then it at first gets compiled and then gets executed, and this compilation happens only once for the first time when the procedure gets called. Now when the second time the procedure gets called, then only execution will happen, because during the first time the compilation was done and the compiled format is saved and then get executed, and in the second time only execution will happen, no compilation will happen, and so on. Like for the third time also, when you will call the procedure, only execution will happen, no compilation, and dot dot dot, like this up to infinite times. Also, if you call the procedure, then every time only execution will happen, no compilation will happen, because when we created the procedure and we called the procedure for the first time, then during that first time, as we call the procedure, then the procedure gets compiled and gets executed. Gets compiled means the compiled format gets saved, and then execution happens. Okay, that's during the first time when we call the procedure, and then when we call the procedure for the second time, then only execution will happen, no compilation, because compiled format is saved, and dot dot dot, like up to n number of times. Also, whenever you call the procedure starting from the second instance, only execution will happen. But that is not the scenario in case of function. In case of a function, whenever you call a function, then every time compilation will happen and execution will happen. Okay, so if you call a function for 100 times, then every instance for that particular function, when you called it, compilation will happen and execution will happen. Okay, second difference is like we have some concept of exception handling in the programming environment. Okay, to know to reduce some to reduce the stress of error. Like whenever an error occurs, then it may disrupt the normal ongoing process. So in order to ensure that the normal ongoing process does not get disrupted, we have some concept called exception handling, that I will discuss in Python when I will start the Python classes, that what is exception handling. Now in case of exception handling, there are two blocks known as try and catch block. Together, they are to be used, and we can use the try and catch block in case of procedures, but not in case of functions. So, if you want to perform exception handling, that is, even if some error occurs, you do not want the error to disrupt the normal flow of the program, then for that we go for exception handling. And in case of SQL, for exception handling, we can use the try and catch block in case of procedures, but we cannot use the try and catch block in case of functions. Okay. And exception handling I will discuss in the Python classes. Third difference is like transactions. In the last couple of classes, I shall be discussing about transactions. So for the time being, just remember that transaction is also a very important concept in SQL. And if you want to use transactions, then we can use them in case of procedures, but we cannot use them in case of functions. Okay. Then fourth difference between procedure and function is like a function must always return a value. Okay, a function must always return a value, but in case of procedure, it's optional. Okay, in case of procedure, it may return zero values, it may return n values. Okay, so fourth difference is that in case of function, it must always return a value, but in case of a procedure, it's optional. It may return zero values or it may return n values. Fifth difference is in case of a function, it can only have input parameters. In case of function, it can have only input parameters, but for procedure, it can have input parameters as well as output parameters also. It can have. Okay, there is the flexibility in case of procedure. Then another difference is like in case of procedure during running time also, we can pass values to the procedure. Okay, during running time of the procedure also, we can pass values to the procedure. And another difference is like in case of function, it allows only the select statement, whereas in case of procedure, like again, if I repeat, in case of function, it allows only the select statement, but in case of procedure, it allows the select statement as well as the DML statements. DML means data manipulation language. Okay, so DML statements are also allowed. DML means like insert, update, delete. Okay, so these are the some basic distinctions between a procedure and a function. You all remember this operation, join operation, like inner join operation in line number 5. Huh. Now, at very first, you go to our basic database class 2 that we have been using for the last couple of classes and execute it. Now, from lines 3 to 8, we all have discussed this inner join operation. Okay, this is the inner join operation which is used to join the results from these two tables, emp2 underscore 2 and emp underscore inc. And we have discussed these join operations many times in many videos. So if you have not checked them out, you can check them out in the playlist. So select from lines 3 to 8 and hit the execute button. And here we get all these values like employee IDs, name values, city values, phone values, email values, date of birth values, date of joining values, department values, designation values, salary values. Then these calculated fields, EA1, EA2, all these things are being displayed out here. Now, how to create a procedure and just by calling the procedure display this result. Here what we are doing, here we are selecting lines 3 to 8 and then we are displaying this total output of this inner join operation. But I want to do it with the help of a procedure. Then how to do it? Now, basic thing is, if you want to create a procedure just like your function only. In case of function, what do we write? We write create function. Here we will write create procedure because we are going to create procedures. Okay. So in case of function, we write create function, then give some function name. And in case of procedure, what we will write create, then procedure, and then give some procedure name. Like here, I've given the procedure name my underscore PROCE. Some random arbitrary name I have given, and here no parameters are there. No parameters are there means no values will be passed to this procedure. In case of function, if you remember, just after the function name, the single brackets used to start, and inside those single brackets we used to keep parameters to which values were being passed. Here, in case of procedure, you see create procedure, and after that, some procedure name like my underscore p proce, and after that, there are no single brackets, no parameters. So, no values will be passed to it. So, this kind of a procedure is known as your non parameterized procedure. Okay. Then, as keyword you have to give, begin you have to write, and end. Okay. In case of function, what we used to write, create function, then give the function name, then inside the single brackets, besides, we used to give the parameter value, we used to give the parameters. Then in the next line, we used to write the returns type, whether integer or, varchar or char, and after that as, and after that begin, after that end. In case of a procedure, how to write? Now, first, create procedure command you have to give along with the procedure name, whatever you choose. Then in the next line, as keyword you have to choose. Then in the next line, begin keyword you used to choose. And in the next line, end keyword you have to choose. And between this begin and end, between this begin and end keywords, you have to write your query. So that entire join operation, that is inner join operation, which we have seen many times, performing the ultimate query output by joining the results from both the tables emp2 underscore 2 and emp underscore inc, you can simply place it between these two keywords, begin and end, inside the procedure. Okay. So select lines 10 to 19. So go to the execute button and commands completed successfully. So your procedure is created. Now, how to drop procedure? I'm not going to execute it. Just for example, drop procedure, then give the procedure name. If you select this line number 21 and hit the execute button, procedure created by you will be deleted or dropped. Now, no need to do this. You can delete this because we are going to use this procedure. Now, how to call a function, like how to call a procedure. We have seen how to call a function. Now we will see how to call or execute our procedure. So simply you have to write exec. It means execute. Okay. Short form you can use for execute, which is exec. Okay. After that, you can give the procedure name, which is my underscore proce. So select line number 23 and hit the execute button, and you see the query output of the join operation, the query output of the inner join operation is displayed out here. And thanks to this procedure, there is via this procedure execution also, we can display out the inner join output operation. Okay. So you can store that inner join query inside your procedure. You have to create the procedure definitely, and between the begin and end keywords, you have to place your entire query state, query codes, and then just execute the procedure by placing the procedure name, which is in our case my underscore proce, and you will be able to see the output. And there is another way also. Simply you write the procedure name, which is my underscore proce, and hit the execute button. You will get the same output. Okay. As you can see, eid name, all these things, then the calculated fields like ea1, ea2. Now this was non-parameterized procedure. Now what about your parameterized procedure? Here I have written besides parameterized procedure, means now there can be parameters also in case of a procedure. So how to create procedure, that we have seen. Create, then procedure. This command you have to give using these keywords create. You have to write, and after that you have to write procedure, and after that you can give a procedure name. Now do not repeat the same procedure name that we gave above. Now it will be a different procedure. Okay. That my underscore proce is already created and used for a particular purpose. This time you have to give a different name. So my underscore proce one I have chosen here. Okay. This is the procedure name in this scenario. And then here you have to give your parameters. So just like your function, here also you have to give your parameters. Here I have given the parameter at the rate cit, and as the data type you have to give that what kind of data type this parameter is going to be. I have chosen it as to be varchar, and then the data length, which is of 30. Okay. In case of function, after the function name, there used to be your single brackets. Inside the single brackets we would keep something like this, similarly like at the rate sit as varchar 30. But in case of procedure, after the procedure name, no need to write the single brackets. Okay, that is used for the function. But in case of procedure, no need to use the single brackets. Single brackets can be used in case of function, not in case of procedure. And rest is same, just like your function. Here also you can give at the rate and then give any name to your parameter, and then you have to declare its data type and the length, which is 30. the length, and the data type is your varchar, and the parameter name that I've chosen here is @sit. So it is a parameterized procedure where some value will be passed. So value passed here will be some city name. Okay, value passed here will be some city name. Then moving to line number 27, after this, in the next line, you have to write this as keyword. Then in the next line, you have to give the begin keyword, and then at the end, you have to write the end keyword. And then whatever was your query, that you have to write between these lines 28, where you have the begin keyword, and line 35, where you have the end keyword. So between the begin and end keywords, you have to write your codes. There is a SQL query. So again, the inner join operation I have given here: select e.eid name, city, phone, email, and all this. We have seen it many times. Salary, then calculated fields EA1, EA2, from EMP2 underscore 2, inner join operation, EMP underscore INC EI on E.eid is equals to EI.eid. And then you have to use this clause, that is where clause, where where city is equals to @sit. In our previous procedure, when the output query was displayed, then whatever all the 132 city names were displayed out, not 132 city names. That is, there was no specification. That is, the original table is of 132 rows, and under the city column we had 132 values. Okay, so all those 132 rows for the city column were also displayed. Okay, because in that scenario, in our previous procedure, we didn't go for any specific city name, but in this procedure, we are going for some specific city name. Okay, so that's why this clause I'm giving, that at the end, when this join query operation you have written, join query code you have written, then in the last line before the end keyword, you have to write the where clause, where city is equals to @sit. Okay, so @sit is a parameter to which some value of city name will be passed. Say suppose Delhi is passed to it. Then what will happen here? Where city is equals to Delhi. So this entire join operation will give the output, but with respect to only the Delhi, with respect to only those records where the city is Delhi. Okay. Suppose you when you execute this procedure, then Pune is the city name that you are passing to this parameter. So Pune value will be passed. Pune value will be passed to this parameter @sit. And so at line number 34, where city is equals to Pune. So this inner join operation, it will give you all the output, but with respect to only the Pune based records. Wherever the city is Pune, only corresponding to that only you will get your records. Not with respect to the other city values, you will get records. Okay, only those records you will get where the city column is Pune. So select lines 26 to line number 26 to line number 35. You select, hit the execute button, procedure is created. Now you have to execute this procedure, and drop procedure is again like to drop this. If you want to drop it, I don't want to drop it, I want to use it. So as we know how to call a procedure, execute, the short form of execute is exec, and then give the procedure name, which is my underscore proc1, and then give some value like city value only you have to pass. Okay, so city value is Pune, and now the procedure will be called. Which procedure will be called? My underscore proc1 will be called, and Pune will be passed here to @sit. So that means the condition is that where city is equals to @sit. That means city is equals to Pune. So only the Pune based records will be shown here from this join operation. So select this line number 39 and hit the execute button. And here, as you can see, if you follow the cursor at the bottom right hand corner, there are 34 rows. So that means there are 34 rows out of 132 rows. Previously, when I used my underscore proxy, all the 132 rows were displayed because there was no specification for any city name. But now 34 rows are displayed. Okay, so that means there are the 34 employees who belong to the city of Pune. And as you can see, all the fields are displayed. EID is displayed, name, city, phone, email, DOB, department, designation, that is DAISY. Okay, these are the short forms definitely. salary, then these calculated fields EA1, EA2, all these fields are displayed but with respect to only the Pune based records. So wherever the city is Pune, only those corresponding records are shown here. So there are 34 such records only where you have the city is equals to Pune, and only those 34 records are displayed out here. And in line number 40, without execute also, you can execute your procedure, that is without using the exec keyword. Also simply directly you can write procedure name and then give the value. This value will be passed to the parameter and same result you will get. Okay, hit the execute button and same result you get. Okay, now next procedure is like, suppose create procedure, then give some procedure name. Like here I have given my underscore table, and then I've given here some parameter at the rate tab, and the data type is as varchar. The data type here is varchar, and the data type length is 10. So here whatever value has to be passed to this parameter at the rate tab, that value data type has to be varchar, because the parameter itself here is varchar data type, and the data length maximum can be of 10 characters. Then in the next line give as, in the line number 43. Then in the next line give begin. Then in the next line you have to give end, and between these two keywords, that is as is a keyword, after as you have to give begin keyword, and then after begin keyword you have to give end keyword. Between these two keywords you have to place your query. Here there is no query, here there is simply this command exec. We know what it is, execute. Then within single brackets you have to, I'm writing here where like select asterisk from within single inverted commas, then there is space, then there is space here in this region, then I'm using this plus handle, and after that I'm writing here what, at the red tab, which is what, which is my parameter here. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is select asterisk from, then some table name that we have to use here. Okay, we have seen previously how to call a table. Now if you want to see the records from a table, what do we do? Select, then space asterisk from, then space the table name we give, then accordingly we get the table records. Okay, so here also, like without excessively writing, explicitly writing, we can use a procedure to display records from a table. So select asterisk from, then give space, and the inverted comma ends. After that plus handle you have to use, and give the parameter name. Parameter name is at the red tab, to which some value will be passed. What will be the value? Table name, that will be the value. Table name will be passed here, and then you will be able, automatically what will happen now, as soon as you this, first of all, when you create this procedure, now the procedure will be ready to be used, and you execute the procedure where you have to pass some table name value to this parameter at the tab, and automatically what will happen here, at the tab in place of here the table name value will appear, and inherently just by executing the procedure only, this select asterisk from, then the table name will be executed, and you will be able to display, you will be able to see the records from that particular table. But yes, the table has to exist, the table has to be there. For example, emp2 underscore 2, many a times we have handled this table. Okay, so execute our procedure. First of all, you have to create this procedure. So select lines 42 to 46 and hit the execute button. Procedure is created, now ready to be executed. Now how to execute a procedure? Now give the procedure name, which is my underscore table. Then you have to give the value emp2 underscore 2. It is a varchar value, that's why within the single inverted commas. Emp2 underscore 2 is a table name. It's a table that exists, and the name of that table is emp2 underscore 2. It exists, so this is the name of the table, emp2 underscore 2. And whenever you're executing line number 48, like just placing the procedure name and then placing the value and hitting the execute button, then this value emp2 underscore 2 will go to this parameter at the tab. Okay, so here what will happen, select asterisk from, then after space here plus, you have to mandatorily give here in SQL, here in place of at the tab, what will happen, emp2 underscore 2. So ultimately in the internally it will be select asterisk from emp2 underscore 2, and all the records from emp2 underscore 2 will be displayed. So if you want to display records from your table by using a procedure, this is the way how you can approach about. So select line number 48 and hit the execute button. You see all the records from the emp2 underscore 2 table are displayed. Okay, 132 rows and all the columns which were there in emp2 underscore 2 are displayed. Okay, now similarly you can also execute this another table, that is emp underscore inc value. This is another table if you remember. So this is the name of another table. This value, this is a value only, varchar value. That value will be passed here as soon as I execute my procedure. What is my procedure here? Now my underscore table, that is the name of the procedure that I've given here, isn't it? So you just have to write the name of the procedure, and which is my underscore table, then give the value which is a varchar value emp underscore inc, which is the table name. So this name will be passed to this at the red tab as soon as you select line number 49 and hit the execute button. emp underscore inc will go to here, and ultimately will get select asterisk from internally. It will be in place of at the red tab, it will be emp underscore inc. So select asterisk from emp underscore inc, and that will display all the records from this table emp underscore inc. Okay, now if you remember, select asterisk from upskilling. This table also we had created upskilling. Let us hit the execute button. Did I execute this line number 49? Let us see once. Hit execute. Yeah. Now see, all the records from emp underscore inc table are displayed out here. Okay. Now, upskilling table in one of our previous classes we had created just a dummy table. So select asterisk from upskilling. All the records on all the fields from upskilling table will be displayed. I hope you remember this table, emp underscore id containing id values of employees, emp underscore name definitely containing the names of employees, emp underscore department, that is emp underscore dept, which is for department. The values are MIS miscellaneous, and subject underscore name, that is sub underscore name, is null, which we had kept as null only for all the rows. Now what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to insert some records through procedure. I will try to insert some records into this particular table via some procedure. Okay, so create procedure. This command you have to give, create procedure, then give the procedure name. I have given here my underscore insert, and after that accordingly I have to write the parameters and the data types. At the very beginning it is at the rate e underscore id. At the rate e underscore id is for emp underscore id column. Okay, so here basically values will be passed to this particular parameter for emp underscore id column. Okay, and the data type is char. Data type is char because here emp underscore id itself was char, and the data type length is 5. Okay, comma, then after that at the rate nam. At the rate nam is another parameter, and it is mainly for this particular field emp underscore name, because here employee names will be passed to this particular parameter at the rate nam, and the data type is varchar, and the data length is 40. Just whatever we had kept for emp underscore name, same data type and the same data length here also you have to use. Then again give comma, and then I have written here at the rate dep. It stands for department. Okay, and the third parameter is the third parameter here is at the rate dep. It is for department, that is emp underscore department, emp underscore dept, which is employees department values like miscellaneous misc will be passed to this particular parameter at the rate DEP, and the same data type I have chosen here as similar to that of your EMP underscore DEPT, which is varchar data type, and the data length is 35, and then comma. The last parameter is at the rate sub. The last parameter is at the rate sub, which is for your sub underscore name, that is subject name, and the data type is same as that of your this field, that is sub underscore name varchar, and the data type length is 35. Okay, now go to the next line, that is in line number 57. As keyword you have to use, then in the next line begin keyword you have to use, and then after the begin keyword you have to use the end keyword, and between these two keywords begin and end you have to write your query. Okay, so just like how I insert into a table, that kind of code only I have to write here. Like whatever we know how to insert records into a table, that similar kind of statement we have to write here inside this procedure. So what we used to do now, insert into, then give the table name, which is upskilling, then in the next line values, and then your brackets will start. And within the brackets, what I'm trying to do here, within the brackets, I'm placing these parameters. Within these brackets, I'm placing these parameters like at the rate e underscore id. Okay, so at the rate e underscore id. Then after that, what do we have? After that, we have at the rate nam. So at the rate nam is placed here in the second part. Okay, then the third is at the rate dep, like here at the rate dep. And the fourth one is at the rate sub. So at the rate sub. So values will be passed, some values will be passed to these particular parameters, and then those values will be accordingly inserted. Then those values will be accordingly inserted thanks to lines 59 and 60. And under which table? Under upskilling table. And accordingly, if I want to display display those inserted, I want to display those inserted record, that is the entire row. If I want to accordingly display those specifically inserted records, then select asterisk from upskilling, where emp underscore id is equals to at the rate e underscore id. Okay, so at the rate e underscore id will have some value, and the emp underscore id will be checked for that value, according to which table? Upskilling table, and that particular row will be displayed. So let us first create this procedure, lines 56 to 64, and hit the execute button. Commands completed successfully. Now, how to execute a procedure or how to call a procedure? Exec, then give the procedure name, which is in our case what? It is my underscore insert, and after that, accordingly pass the values like I1023. This value will be passed to which parameter? This parameter at the rate e underscore id. Then here you have some name value, Deepika Das, randomly I've taken here, just an arbitrary name randomly. And this value will be passed to this parameter at the rate name. Then MISC miscellaneous, this value will be passed to this particular parameter, that is at the rate at the rate at the rate DEP, that is for department. And then null value is accordingly passed to this particular parameter at the rate sub, that is for subject. Okay, and now what will happen? Now in lines 59 to 60, insert into upskilling values, and here I have written what? The parameters. And now the parameters will have these values starting from this to this. So all these records will be now inserted. All these records will be accordingly inserted under the fields of this upskilling table. Okay, like I1023, it will be inserted. I1023, it will be inserted under emp underscore id. Okay, if you follow line number 62 and just want to see the record, select asterisk from upskilling. Then I102, this e at the rate e underscore id is for emp underscore id, at the rate nam is for emp underscore name, then at the rate dep is for emp underscore department. These things we have seen in function also. At the rate sub is for sub underscore name. Accordingly, this entire row will be inserted into this table, where I1023 will come under emp underscore id field. Then your Deepika Das, this name will come under emp underscore name field. MISC will come under this field, emp underscore department. Okay, and null will be the value inserted underscore this. The null will be the value that will be inserted under this field sub underscore name, that is subject name. Okay, so hit this. So these values will be accordingly inserted. Now these values will be accordingly inserted into this upskilling table, and when you go and internally what will happen also, as soon as when you execute this procedure, which is my underscore insert, then definitely insert operation will happen. And after that, inherently, this select asterisk from upskilling, where emp underscore id is equals to at the rate e underscore id, this will also get executed just by calling the procedure. Okay, so what will happen here? Select asterisk from upskilling, where emp underscore id is equals to at the rate e underscore id, where at the rate e underscore id will be this value I1023. So the entire row will be now displayed, because emp underscore id is equals to at the rate e underscore id will be is equals to I1023, and thanks to this insert operation, that this entire record has been inserted into this particular table under the corresponding fields. So emp underscore id definitely will have this value I1023, and we know by via this kind of code the entire row will be displayed. So entire row, that is I1023 Deepika Das miscellaneous null, it will be displayed. Okay, and this will for this no need to write separately, that is select asterisk from upscaling where imp underscore id is equals to @ e underscore id. No need to write it separately, just write it inside the procedure, and just when you execute this procedure by passing these values, then accordingly the values will be inserted into this upscaling table. Okay, and accordingly that particular record and its entire row will also be inherently displayed out for you thanks to this procedure which will be executed. Because as soon as you call this procedure, then this line number 59 to 60 will be performed and will be executed, so records will be inserted into this table. And then from line 62 to 63 also, your checking the record from upscaling table will also be performed just by calling this procedure my underscore insert. Okay, so go to line number 66 and hit this execute. Then that is hit, like go to line number 66 and select this, that is exec, then give the procedure name my underscore insert and give these values, hit the execute button, and you see what is coming out to be emp underscore id, emp underscore name, emp underscore department, subject underscore name, and under these what we have this inserted row, that is these inserted records. So internally what happened, the values went and the values got inserted, and once the values got inserted, after that these lines of codes also got executed as soon as we executed this procedure my underscore insert. So automatically you are getting the inserted value. You're automatically, what is happening out here, automatically we can see that the records that we inserted, those are displayed out here. Did we write that separately, that select asterisk from upscaling where emp underscore id is equals to I1023 outside the procedure? Did we write this line separately, select asterisk from upscaling where emp underscore id is equals to I1023? We didn't. We simply here wrote this statement once inside the procedure, and that gets executed whenever we execute our procedure. Okay, so this is the insertion that you can do, insert operation via procedure, insert into a table. Then suppose I want to delete records. Now I want to delete records through procedure. How to do it? Again, go to say line number 70 here and create procedure. And after that, give any name like my underscore delete. And after that, here I am basically writing this parameter @ e underscore id. @ e underscore id parameter I will be using for this field emp underscore id, and then you have to declare its data type using this as keyword, and then give the data type which is char, because the emp underscore id is also char. And inside the brackets you have to write the data type length maximum it can take, which is of 5 characters. Then in line number 71 as keyword, then in the next line there is 72 begin keyword, and then line number 77 if you follow end keyword, and between these two lines, that is line 72 and 77, that is between these two keywords begin and end, you have to basically write your query. So how do we delete a record from a table? We know it very well. Delete from the table name where the identifier is equals to a particular value. So that same thing we have to do here. So delete from, sorry, you have to line number 73 if you follow, delete from, then you have to give the table name which is a upscaling, where emp underscore id is equals to the parameter you give here @ e underscore id. This parameter shall have the value. Okay, so this delete, where after you create the procedure, when you execute this procedure, at first this delete operation will happen. That is from this upscaling table, basically the particular record where emp underscore id is a specific value, that entire row will be deleted. And then after that, select asterisk from upscaling, all the records from that upscaling table will be displayed, and you can check whether the specified row has been deleted or not. Okay, so here what will happen? Here this parameter is @ e underscore id to which some eid value. Here the parameter is @ e underscore id to which some emp underscore id value will be passed. For example, I1023 will be passed. I102, suppose I execute this procedure my underscore delete, and accordingly you have to pass some value, and value is emp underscore id value I1023, because the parameter here is at the rate e underscore id. So I1023 will be passed here, and ultimately what will happen, delete from upskilling where emp underscore id is equals to at the rate e underscore id, which is equals to I1023. So delete from upskilling where emp underscore id is equals to I1023. So this entire row for I1023 will be deleted. Then in the next line, internally inside the procedure, because you will be executing the procedure, and when you execute this procedure internally inside this procedure, all these operations will be happening, and automatically you will see that select asterisk from upskilling, that also gets executed whenever I execute this procedure my underscore delete, and all the records from this table will be displayed, and you will see that this particular row is gone. So create this procedure from line 70 to 77, hit the execute button. There is already an object name, so I had already created it. So you drop procedure, then you can give the procedure name like my underscore delete,